Thank you, Winnie. So I had a few thoughts, of course, today, last minute, right before I came on, that I got from Adam and Danny's talk. But really, before we started here, I wanted to cement ourselves in a few problems that we faced, which is why we went down this endeavor. One was, as we grow, how do we ensure culture is healthy and our values are lived across the business? How do we democratize the responsibility of culture and deliver data to leaders across the organization to make a localized impact? Our leaders across the organization know best. We need to trust them with the data in order to make decisions at that ground level. And then how do we make more people metrics a part of our leader, or a part of a leader suite of metrics, and what should be included? So I'm going to talk a little bit about, it's a little bit unorthodox, but the way that we went about looking at people data across Slalom, and then how we partner across all different analytics teams across the organization. I'm going to talk about Slalom's experience index. That's our actual measure of culture. And then I'm going to talk about how we've been using it, how we've been empowering leaders with tools in order to make a difference in their localized teams. And then where we're going to next, and that includes some things with AI. So I'll start with the fact, many of you may not have heard of Slalom. I think Winnie did a pretty good job explaining it, but we are a technology-focused consulting firm, but we bring a fiercely human impact to it. That's kind of like, that's our call sign, right? That's what I have bolded here. It's how we interact with everyone internally across our teams, but also how we approach our relationships with our customers as well and our clients. So when I joined in 2019, I think we were like 6,000 employees and maybe offices just in the US and one other country. We've grown exponentially over the last 5 years, especially since I joined. And part of that challenge is what I mentioned, which is we have these core values. We're a fiercely human-led organization, but how do we make sure those core values are consistent, especially as we exponentially grow? If you don't see our office here yet, I'm sure we'll be there soon. We have plans to open up multiple offices, and we're growing rapidly. But 12,000 team members now, so pretty much doubled in size. Okay, a little bit more about my team. I'm going to talk about, I have a slide for the structure of it, and I'll show you that in a second. But my team's called the Executive Data Team, also called Executive Insights. We take and synthesize data from across the organization and do a lot of cool things with it. We started with Experience Index, but really it's been across multiple different functions. We've done a lot of people analytics. More recently, it's been like, how can we get better at doing sales forecasting? But I highlighted two here today. One is Experience Index, and then one is our survey operations and analysis across our business. So, oh God, there's me, jump scare. This is our team structure. And like I said, it's a little bit unorthodox, at least at the few companies I've been in the past. We haven't really had a function like this before. We do have a people analytics practice. When I joined, it was very, very, very small. Of course, we were a smaller company then. We've grown. Our people analytics practice has grown. But we also had other analytical organizations that were just kind of throwing reports out at our executive team. And they didn't know which one to act on and when. Sometimes the stories that they're telling are a little bit different. And so that's kind of the gap we were filling with this team, this executive data team. I'm that blue circle there, if I can get the laser pointer working, because I love laser pointers. I work mostly on the data engineering side, so going and finding data that we've never used before across Slalom, but we have about our people, or even macro level data too, so that can help us inform a lot of things like on sales forecasting or what other organizations are doing in order to benchmark their people. We also have a data science part of the organization. My lovely co-leader just had a baby, so he couldn't join me today. But we, again, it's very, very data-centric, data-focused, but all of those insights we feed from those teams up to our executive team so that they aren't getting like reports thrown at them all the time, but also there's a kind of a consistent message and story for that. Sorry, I realize I'm not really talking into my mic, so hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay, a little bit of background. So Much like other organizations, when COVID hit, we realized we need to understand way more about our people than we currently know. In 2017, we were sending out this survey called the Anniversary Survey. And that Anniversary Survey was just our CEO sending a survey out to our employees on their anniversary saying, hey, happy anniversary. How do you feel like we are living our core values in your market and on your teams? It was very generalized at that point. We weren't really doing anything with the data. In fact, our CEO loves survey data so much that he was literally reading all of the surveys that came through. He still kind of does that. But in 2020, you realize that, hey, the CEO is literally the only one getting this data. How do we get other leaders across the organization access to that data? So June 2020 is when I came on. I came from the consulting side of the organization and started to work internally. And first thing that we did was create a dashboard for that survey. So here's what people are saying across the organization. Here's what people are saying in these different markets, and then allowed general managers of the specific markets to read that data. Our business is very market location based, and so that was kind of the direction that we went at the start for doing a lot of that dashboarding. In 2021, we actually started using a survey composite of that to kind of measure our core values as a way to see how our leaders were doing across our business. We had two other metrics that we were using, utilization and gross margin, pretty typical of the consulting industry to track those. But another one that we included as part of that was that composite score. And then, I guess a month later, we started, our team became like a permanent function in the business, really filling that gap that needed to be filled for that executive data team. In June 2022, the index really developed into what it is today. And we started doing leader level reporting. So anyone in the organization has the ability to see a score for their specific team. They know they have all of these different components that they can track and over time as well, which I'll get into in a second in the way that a different engagement survey is formatted. And then in 2023, last year, and then kind of into this year as well, we started making those metrics a lot more transparent, and we started to deliver some of those tools to those leaders in order to help them improve different components of that experience index. We also, as part of that, provided some training, and we partnered with our talent management and people analytics team to do that. I have some recommendations too that not I, but our team provided recommendations as part of that experience index, those leader level reports, and have some cool stuff that we're doing with AI that I can't wait to do more with, but I have like a preliminary thing to show you on it. Again, just want to ground ourselves here. These are our 10 core values. Doesn't really matter what your core values are. At our business, this was really core to our culture and who we are, and this is what we wanted to measure. You could kind of take the same idea and apply it at your company with any kind of people-related metric that you'd like to measure as well. So I mentioned we had a couple different surveys. We have the Anniversary Survey, and we have our Slalom Engagement Survey. Most companies that I've come across have always measured engagement or like sentiment, something like that. We have that, and it's super useful. If you're not doing it, you should be doing it. But what it doesn't capture, at least in its current form at our company, is the measurement of that culture and that living of core values, especially on like a localized leader level. That's kind of where this Anniversary Survey filled a gap. It also provided the ability to like localize that at a leader level. It was aligned with a strategy. We have a strategy I didn't mention, but I think it was early 2023 or late 2022, experience index and experience, what we call 90, actually became part of our culture, or part of our strategy, I should say. We have like a 3+1 strategy. One of those is literally experience 90, which is getting 90% of our leaders to an experience index score of 90 or above. So that measurement of culture is like ingrained in our strategy as an organization. I'm going to glance over this because I don't want to get too in the weeds, especially when I only have a few minutes left. But there's 14 components to the index. The cool thing about Anniversary Survey and the way that we send it out is that we are constantly pulsing individuals across the organization. It may be only one time a year for each individual person, but we are constantly pulsing that group of people. And so as a leader, if you're looking at aggregated scores, you can kind of see an improvement of scores, even though it's a different population, or a couple different, it's like a moving index across the year. There's also a minimum survey threshold of 4, obviously, to make sure that people are still feeling comfortable being able to share, and we obfuscate any people's names. And then we also use experience index as a way to measure like a healthy leader performance. Like if your culture is measured great on your teams, like that's something that we want to know more about. We want to know more about how that team operates. If not, we have like recommendations that we can give you on it. Which leads me into a pilot that we ran last year. So we had this thing called the Experience Index Packet Pilot. Really is like a PDF. It's totally automated now. It was automated then, but now it's not an email to you. But a leader would get this in your inbox, has your face on it and everything, because we love to personalize things, has your name. And it has where your strengths are, where your opportunities are, and then like a complete breakdown of where your scores are looking like. On the next page, there's also a breakdown of your team. So if you're a leader of, I don't know, 100 plus people organization, and all those people have their own leader trees and their own teams that they work with, you can see a breakdown of any of those teams, and you know where to actually go and make changes as a leader of that organization, or improvements, or actually see what other teams are doing well. We had this. We also had this thing that we did, I'd say about a year ago. I think we're continuing to do it. I don't know if we have it on this deck though, but it's called Phone a Friend. So if any team's doing really, really well in a certain area, we connect you with other leaders across the organization that are doing well in that area so that you can have a conversation and see where you can make improvements. But the really cool thing about this packet is it's really, really small, but it's at the bottom of this. And there's a lot more of them now in the way that it's set up, which I'll show you in a second, but they're actually recommendations. So they're research-based recommendations based off of like how we've done things across the organization, what's proved to be like a good idea to improve X component of the experience index, and then we provide that as a recommendation. And now, I'll skip this one for a second. We have it located on a performance platform called Slalom that's been around for a few years, but you actually can look at your suggested actions for those particular scores. You can click on any one of these components. It'll have suggested actions for it. You can click on it and say, hey, I did this thing. Was it helpful? Was it not helpful? Or you also have the ability, as I mentioned on that packet, to see your leader tree. You can click on the tree. You can say, hey, this person's experience index is this. These are team-based experience index. I want to be 100% clear on that. It's not like an individual person, this is how I ranked. It's that person's team. But you can go and click on that, see their recommendations, and see what you can help them with. So really, it's enabling those teams to have the tools in order to make a difference and a change on those teams to improve how people are feeling about their experience and culture. And then that last slide was also a way that's consistently available. It's a dashboard that's consistently available to leaders across the organization. This is just one page of it. There's a bunch of other cool like charts and trends and different types of charts. But this is totally available to anybody to go and look at a Slalom level. And then if you want to look at your team, it's available to you as your team level view. But you can slice and dice experience index scores by basically any dimension you can think of. It could be demographics, which is really interesting to our people analytics team. It could be anything across geographies, markets, or any of like those physical business divisions. And this is like where the cool chatbot thing's coming into play. So as part of those recommendations, we actually have, this is in like a beta mode, but it knows everything about our organization. We've fed documents across Slalom into our AI chatbot. You can ask it questions about what the experience index is. Our idea is that like, not even just experience index, but basically any metrics. Like how can I go in and improve this component of this metric? It can't do that yet, but it's in progress. And then I got to finish up real quick, but this is mostly just a view of like, yeah, we're actually looking at experience index for each leader and like how it's stacking up with other metrics as well. It's included as part of that performance evaluation is like, this leader's doing well in this area, so can we go and help this leader do this thing, give them the tools that they need. Real quick, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is my last slide. Experience Index has spurred a lot of different projects across the organization, including some attrition prediction modeling that we did during the Great Resignation. That was huge. We also did some correlation modeling with our engagement survey, figured out like who our best accounts were based on the experience index of our teams working with that account. Or we also have a customer love survey that we send out to all of our customers. They will fill that out and then kind of doing like a match, like a team matching thing there. And then we also have this new meaningful work pilot. We actually did it in our Philly office and another office, I think it was Chicago, but basically having a person develop their own definition of what meaningful work is to them. Meaningful work is a component on our experience index, and then using that to for our staffing decisions. So like, you like working with this kind of company, you like working with this kind of technology, let's try to put you on that kind of project. And then as I mentioned, helps in leader promotion decisions, and then also evaluating whether or not a new people policy is performing well. But that's all I got for you today. My email is cj.gonzalez@slalom.com. If you have any questions about this, I'd love to talk about it, or love to talk about your ideas too. And then also my LinkedIn, feel free to message me on there too. That's all I got.